the WoW team exists? You know, in most companies, you have management trainees, right? Like, you come in, they have no fucking idea what you're capable of doing, and then you just get tossed into all the different roles inside the company, and then eventually you get pulled into somewhere else, and then you're like, hey, you're great, and your career there starts. Mind Valley doesn't have a management trainee program, but we have the WoW team for that. So that's an unofficial reason why the WoW team exists. But that also means there's a very specific bar that is very much only specific and highly emphasized when you're in the WoW team. So you guys heard during my induction there's something called the bar of awesomeness, right? There's the bar of awesomeness, like this.
Some people joined some years ago, you can remind me.
So this is the bar of awesomeness. Bar of...
If you don't mind, you can write on the other side, it's better.
Sure. So there is something that we call the bar of awesomeness. So bar of A.
Wow.
Now the bar of awesomeness is computed based on every single person being number one, how good you are at your professional capacity or whatever role you have, skill-wise or job-wise, and number two is how you contribute to Mind Valley's culture overall. And what that primarily means is being a very strong proponent of the culture DNA and your life book and your career at Mind Valley. So if I tend to look at it as just how are you doing on your life book, how you look at it from the culture DNA, and then your career at Mind Valley. These three things determine where you are in the bar of awesomeness. Now, every single year, you are working on yourself. Just every time you take life book, you will skyrocket anyway. So people start going up this chain, right? And then that means the bar is also raised. This average is the barrier to entry for everybody in Mind Valley. And that barrier to entry is determined by the WoW team, primarily, most of the time, because the most junior people we hire at Mind Valley start here. That means that is the bare minimum to entry. So what I'm saying is, the bare minimum to entry is not the lowest member of the WoW team. The barrier to entry is the average of the WoW team. That means these people are those who really need that kick in the butt to meet the bar consistently, because otherwise more new people are gonna come in here and they're really gonna feel the pain. Now what that means is, if there's any team in Mind Valley who really needs to be very strict when it comes to feedback 360 and really adhering to culture DNA and feedback and your results, it's this team. It's the WoW team. Why? Because not many of you will choose to stay here in the WoW team for the long run. You will eventually get pulled out into different teams at Mind Valley. Now, the reason why that's a good idea is because the assumption that we have as the strategy council of Mind Valley is that if you came from the WoW team, you should be fucking straight A's. There is a higher expectation on you that when you join a different team, there are no problems with you. You're supposed to be fucking skyrocketing in that team and also pulling that team forward, because I'm from the WoW team. I came into product launch team 6 years ago. 6 years ago. And I was like, what the fuck? You guys don't have retrospectives. You guys don't have weekly meetings. You guys don't have daily huddles. You guys don't even give feedback to each other candidly. And you don't even have a quarterly priority list. What is this team? When I was in the WoW team, I had all these things. And that's why it's very easy for me to just become a leader in that team very quickly, because I had that experience here in the WoW team. So if you guys are not holding the standard, that means we are tossing out, for lack of a better term in manufacturing, B-grade products to the rest of the Mind Valley team. So please guys, take note of this. If you guys have I can still accept looking at feedback 360 comments or performance comments from, say, other team juniors. Let's say somebody in the content marketing team somebody joined there fresh from like university and joined content marketing, and I see feedback 360 and performance review, and it's just like, it's meh, it's not really conclusive, or it's very vague, I can still tolerate that a little bit, but I cannot tolerate it in the WoW team. Because how can I tell Gautam or Vadim that I'm like, hey, we're ready for new blood into the marketing team, we need strong people. Who are the people in the WoW team who are like really set on moving on to marketing roles? I don't want to be passing him a new person from the WoW team and he's like, I thought you guys said these people were like the bomb. I don't want that. So I'm putting this pressure on all of you guys. Be ruthless with yourselves in holding yourselves to this higher standard. If there's any team who should know the culture DNA really, really good, it's you guys. Because you're the barrier to entry for my value.
Is this conceptual or is it actually quantifiable and you guys actually have a document for it?
We have a quantitative like 1 to 10 for every single one of these main categories that we're using, and then you kind of average that to tell where the person is. More often than not, how do you know if someone's doing really well? If somebody is here, these are the kind of people who are. It's like every day you know that they're there to show up, they get their stuff done, and you can look at their personal lives as well. It's going crazy. And these are also the people who you would, on the average, because all 3 areas of your life are great, these are the kind of people, numerically speaking, you would see a raise coming to them within 9 months. It's not 1 year. They even get it every 9 months. And people who are like way above the bar are like on a different level. It's hard to maintain that level of like peak self. Everybody goes like ups and downs. And then where are people who are like lagging behind. People who are lagging behind tend to feel very insecure in Mind Valley because they're questioning themselves. They're questioning their role. They're questioning their salary. They're questioning if their role has purpose or if they should even be here, or they feel like they're so left out by everybody else. That's how you know. Because when your life book is down, that means you're not comfortable and confident about your personal life. What do? You start throwing it on things outside of your personal life. And vice versa. So that's why be mindful of these. And if you guys spot these, and I don't care if it's like inside your team or outside your team, these are the people that we need to put some thought into and say, yo, like what's going on? And sometimes you just need to talk them out of it. It's a lot of just maybe self-talk that holds people back.
I want to clarify that for those people who don't have live book, it's just the tool that he uses for an example, like aligned with Mind Valley. But if you don't have a live book, it's still your personal life.
Yeah.
You can, without even tool, you can, based on how you feel, is it your life is shit or your life is good and you're fighting in your
And when I say life book, I'm not saying that all 12 areas of your life are like, it's 150, right? The score is 150. Max is 150. I'm not saying you be 150 in all areas of your life. I'm saying that wherever you are in your life book categories, you feel at peace with that, and it's constantly improving, and you're constantly working with it. Don't assume that I'm asking like everybody to be like this. No, it means you're comfortable. Oh, I'm at 110 right now, but I know I'm working on it. I'm pretty happy about that. Yeah, cool. That's what I mean.
What he also, I think, oh, sorry, go.
No, if you finish the question.
No, I wanted to say that in terms of the bar is not something constant. What he said, the bar is always raising. Up. For example, let's take Maya or Vikanta's example. The way the bar is raising, I'm pretty confident that the way we were accepted to Mind Valley, if we were the same people right now and we haven't developed, so to say, we wouldn't have. But let's say right now, I perhaps might not even get into Mind Valley because the bar is raised.
Yeah.
Being raised by Ming, by Chengsun, by Rafa, and etc. etc. Let's say the way I am right now, if that's my entry point, I'm sure I would get it. But there was like
Kiel in 2011 is not enough to join Mind Valley right now.
So and therefore it means that we accept like people that are better than most of us right now because they enter, and then it's a kick to the ass for all of us.
And I'm letting you guys know the people that we're interviewing right now is gonna raise the bar even more.
I'm afraid each time they're joining, to be honest. Like seriously, like right now these 3 people that are coming is like,
Now you have AI people applying. Freaking out a little bit.
Yeah.
Why are you guys afraid? This
Right.
is
No,
really
like
hard.
in a good way.
It's like a healthy kick in the ass. You're like, hey, I gotta get my shit together. You know?
Yeah,
Fuck
it's
that.
leveling up, you know. For example,
Based on my experience, I think I wouldn't also have gone through. Like, and now.
Now,
when I
if you apply now, yeah, pretty happy about that, honestly. I don't know. Maybe at some point I will end up being kicked out of my belly.
Can you give an example of when you were saying that meh feedback that you don't expect from WoW and a good feedback that you
So-
expect from?
You have numbers for results, right? You guys are lucky because you guys sometimes you guys have metrics for majority of your stuff. You can just say these were your 3 projects for the month, for the quarter. Did they get done or did they not get done? And if they did not get done, was it because of a reason that was just purely yours, or it is because of other extraneous reasons? So I'm not so. And then the other one is you guys have numbers that you have to meet every day in terms of how many tickets you answer, and also the quality of those tickets, and also the attitude that you bring into the office every single day. And if you're going the extra mile of contributing to things outside of your role, that's good enough to know if you're performing well. I'd say, at least when I was in the WoW team, that's how we measured ourselves. That's a good way to look at it. And then on the culture DNA, it's just looking at feedback 360, and you say, hey, it's a scale of 1 to 5, and you're getting a lot of 3s. The fuck is that? And everybody else is like 4, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5, 5. So what's going on? That's enough for me to say something needs to be done.
I have a question about this. So I'm planning to create a very long feedback for everyone. To be fair, I mean, if I can go through Slack again or email or anything, just to have an idea how I would like to put. Is that all right? Because I don't think you'll have the time to read a lot of feedback.
Well, it's not for me to
Uh-huh.
read. It's for the person to read.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it's for the person to read and receive. Not read and like, it's too long, man. Toss it out the window. No. And
Because that's where managers will be getting the final
It's not
say of
for us
everything,
again.
right?
well,
Again,
if
it's
you,
not for us.
well,
If you do it for us, then it's a wrong mindset too.
No.
well, if you
It's-
spend
That's what happened previously. It's like we all have feedback for each other that is going to be reviewed by the manager. That's where they'll be basing their overall look of how we are working with the team.
yeah, but you look at that with the person.
Okay.
Like I'm gonna, if you're the one giving feedback to me and Begindas is my manager, we will look at that feedback together.
Okay, that's great.
And if there are disagreements, then great. And at least we can figure out what the missing expectations are.
That's
But
Thank you.
call it, like all I'm saying is call it as it is. If the numbers don't match, then find a way to make them match next quarter. You know, it's really not that hard. And if feedback says from other people says that you're not adhering to the culture DNA, and there's 7 or 8 people saying that about you, and maybe you're the one who's like, what the heck is going on here? Then that's enough for you to say, well, what the hell is going on, and let me like I told you in the last A report, fucking swallow your ego. This room, WoW team, is a place where we should be burning out this ego, because you have no space for ego when you're in front of Bishop. When you're working with him on like one-on-one projects, it's just he's gonna fucking drill you to the ground, and it's not for everybody. You need to be like fucking super comfortable with who you are and everything about you. Is like, I'm in a chill state. Otherwise, I'm just gonna take leave because I cannot handle this pressure. Okay.
Thank you.
Questions for me?
On feedback, so one of the points in communication, you provide candid, radical, transparent, and immediate, in capital letters, feedback to colleagues. We are trying to push through this as much as possible, and as you know, we have like a feedback form that we try to implement a mindset that every day we are like documenting in that feedback form and at the same time communicating. Though still at this point, I see that it's mostly working from managers to team members and from team members to managers, not from team members to team members. It's very low numbers.
Yeah.
What would be your take on that? How would you promote team member to team member feedback?
Promote team member feedback. So what's like? Why wouldn't you? Because you're afraid of hurting other people's feelings? Aren't you like being even more of? So it's one thing to just come up to a person and say like, "Hey, you're a dick today," and then leave, because that's not actionable feedback. I think you can easily like. I don't see anything wrong with you coming up to a person and saying like, "Hey, in the last meeting, when you interrupted people, I felt several people there seemed like they were hurt by how you went about interrupting everybody. Maybe you might want to look into that. So one thing that is not offensive. If you get offended by that, I don't know why you're here. Because somebody's giving you concrete evidence that something happened and this person cried because you interrupted, you cannot deny that. But that also means be specific about whatever you're gonna say to a person. You cannot just say, and if you're very emotional and you cannot formulate your thoughts, just don't say it right now. Wait a little bit and then come up with a scenario and then say something about it. But immediate is the most important factor here, is because if it's not immediate, you forget the situation. And feedback is only valuable if it's tied to an actual situation. And I would be very happy if when it comes to the point where we don't have these feedback 360 cycles anymore, that I'm like, okay, it's once a month, I will just send my feedback form anyway, and then you guys send it every month or every 2 weeks, I will send it whenever I feel like I want to send it, because that's the kind of culture that you want. And if you don't have these cycles anymore, my hypothesis is if you have a culture of immediate feedback, there will be no need for performance reviews, because you catch things before they even become problems. So it's preventive medicine rather than reactive medicine like what doctors do.
And here is where we set the bar for the rest of the company as well, because we want to be the first ones to have this immediate feedback culture that is also not verbal only, but one that stays.
I want to go on a report and say, and highlight something about how you guys don't even do feedback 360 anymore, because you guys are so efficient at giving each other the feedback that you need to get better every single day. Because if you keep showcasing that, you can only change culture by showcasing and telling successful stories. It's easier here than in other teams, honestly. Tech team is impossible.
And I'd like to stress that, like, based on what Kiel is talking about, Bao's role in Mangali and so on, giving feedback is not a nice to have for all of us, it's part of our role.
It's your
because
role,
we
otherwise
are serving the mission of Mangali like this.
I need you to raise the bar. I want to be rejecting 98% of candidates, not 95%. Now it's 95%. Haha.
Can you elaborate? Remember in last CGM, when for managers, you were talking about the meh bad feedback, meh good one, and meh bad one. So can you elaborate on that?
Meh good feedback is, oh, I love working with you. You bring great energy to the team, and you're awesome.
And this is how most of our feedback is right now.
It's easy to say when you're in a hurry and you just want to finish it up. Boom, boom.
Yes.
Therefore, this time we really want you guys to please make your life easier, each other's life easier, and our life easier.
Yeah.
Because from this, you are such a great person. I love working with you. For us, it's really hard to assess how you're doing, because Vikintas or me or someone else really spends with you 10 minutes a day. So you work with each other more than with us. So how can we evaluate you if
guys, I'd rather you write something down. The new tracker that you built for handling refunds in special billing cases is so easy to use that I was able to understand it within 2 minutes of opening the spreadsheet. That's dope. I copy pasted it and used it for my own personal purposes. That's better than saying like, you are awesome. Fuck, my toilet is awesome. It doesn't make any sense to just do that. You have one up for all the other praises and shit like that.
I have a question here, Kiel, if you don't mind. As I understood from the previous feedback, that we give our feedback, the managers will look into it deeply, and then based on that, they will discuss among themselves, and then they will suggest, or they raise it to the executive team or the HR or the managers about how we're doing, and based on that, they suggest whether people they can get promotions or not, blah blah blah. But I'm wondering about the managers themselves, because also they discuss among themselves, and then also they suggest about themselves for the managers above them. Is it this the way the system it is, or you people also have to look into their own feedback that is they're getting it from everyone?
Yeah, they
and
get
based
it.
on that,
They get it a lot harder, honestly, because we have to sit with them for like 1 hour with me and Eric and having their entire feedback 360 and also Vision's comments and drill it to them. There's no. Let's just put it this way: when you're a manager, you're never ever going to have really good feedback all the time, because somebody probably does not like your guts at any time. Either your team doesn't like your guts, or your other managers don't like your guts, or people in the exec team are like, you're not producing what we want you to produce, even though you're managing your team well.
And the bar is also leveling up.
And also the bar of the managers is extremely, well, actually no, it's not very high because we have a lot of new managers right now.
But it should level up.
But yes, Ibdal, everybody is being reviewed, even the managers. And I'm actually going to say that it's like the feedback and performance review for non-manager team members is, I would say, safer because it's more objective. When you're doing performance appraisal for managers, there's a lot more subjectivity that comes into it, because you're not being, as a manager, you're not expected to deliver results yourself. You're geared based on your team's results, your functions results, and your contribution to strategy. And contribution to strategy is highly subjective depending on who you're talking to on the executive team. So I'd say being a manager is a little bit more tricky. And
okay, very good. And another question is it that do we still have this option of like having it like open discussion among everyone, like some other teams are doing it, or it depends on every team if they wanna just like submit the feedback and then only the managers they can do this part?
That's not what I would recommend. If like once, let's say I send out my feedback forms, everybody answers it. The next thing I'm expecting is a meeting with my manager where we both look at all the feedback and figure out what it actually says and what to do based on that feedback.
Official process.
That is the official process. And only after that meeting will that be brought into like further discussions on whether or not, okay, you've leveled up in your career or whatever, and this means we need to change. We are going to like recommend you for salary raises or whatever. That's a step after that.
I will clarify here that before we were having one-on-ones after everything. We saw one-on-one.
But we also had with me before.
But after you guys decide you have meetings, right?
Mostly.
Oh, I think. Okay, never mind.
What did you tell Ibtihal? Could you repeat?
But I was just saying that it's not like what Kiel said that the manager has to sit with everyone and discuss the feedback. What happened was after you guys have drawn the conclusion or the decision, you sat with us and we discussed. Definitely, we didn't just, but it was a discussion after everything was made. It's not during like discussing the feedback without coming up with the decision of, okay, you got this grade in this or this categories. You got the point?
Yes, this is what I thought, that before the process in this case was not clearly defined. So in many cases we saw one-on-ones as bringing back from internal review circle and the feedback afterwards, after the evaluation and so on. Now the process by people and culture is very clearly defined that one-on-ones, the most important ones, are happening after feedback with the manager. Then it goes to review circle and so on, and then there is additional meeting only after everything, just to bring it back and so on. But the most important one-on-one, which will also be documented on 7Gs, will be after feedback, but before like CGM final evaluations.
Awesome, because this was the for me. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Questions? Otherwise, good luck. And my next group is the tech team.
Do you have
feedback 360 for people who don't want to talk to each other in person?
Do you have some kind of expectation in your head for the average, like, to clarify my question, the bar? You said we should be I understand we are aiming for close to 5 average of the whole team, but do you have something in your mind specifically, or it's just starting wherever we are and looking at the actual average?
I think what I care about more from the WOW team, at least from a strategic standpoint, it has to be the template for how effective teams are run at Mindvalue. you think of it as like freshman year in university. It has to be the best taste in your mouth, and it's the best way for you to really get introduced into university. That's how I see the WOW team, and WOW team extends to Costa Rica and people in Estonia. And why I feel that way is that I expect a lot of the company's leaders. When I mean by leaders, I'm not talking about managers. I'm talking about leaders who are pushing Mindvalley to further reaches. When Vision talks about leaders at Mindvalley, he doesn't talk about people who are managers. He's talking about if this is the blob of Mindvalley, and then this is the vision of Mindvalley, it's getting stretched in multiple different areas depending on where Mindvalley wants to go. You can be a junior person, mid-level person, senior, or a manager, and be one of these people who are really affecting and moving this whatever vision that Mindvalley has. People in the WOW team have to set that standard of like, okay, everybody who comes out of the WOW team is a very good case of a leader in Mindvalley, whether you're junior, mid, or senior. Because it's the only way I can make sure that all the other teams in Mindvalley also start leveling up by making a clear example of one specific group of people. And also, that specific group of people is where all the other leaders of the company come from. That's how I see. That's the strategic relevance that I see of what the WOW team should ideally be. And for the longest time, it always kind of has been like that. Which is why I'm just emphasizing this.
In other words, if I get you right, is that in order to move on and move out from the WOW team, you not only have to raise the bar in terms of and achieve results, but you have to nail the DNA, right?
Yeah, I need all of you to nail all of this, like everything. No compromise.
And only then you can move on, ideally.
Yeah, because I don't want. It's like a factory. I don't want to ship out a product that's like half finished. For lack of a better term, the WOW team is a leadership factory. So if I'm tossing out one of you to join another team in Mindvalley, is it like fucking Tesla A-class product? Has to be like that. So there's a saying in Mindvalley, you become that new role before the title is handed to you. I got all my roles in Mindvalley by jumping in there, doing the work, sometimes double work because I'm doing my work in the WOW team and I was doing project manager role. I still had the salary of a WOW team person, but I proved it that I could do it and I exemplified all these things. And then it wasn't even a job interview anymore or application. They just said, you've been doing it and you're doing it well, here's the title. Those are the people who do really well in Mindvalley. So if you're here, and if you plan to go to another team at Mindvalley, you'd better excel in the WOW team first, because this is your way to prove that you are excelling in all of those three areas. Okay? Cool.
I would like to add one, just to set clear expectations based on the question from Ming of quantifying and measuring everything. I guess you will agree with me, Kiel, that there will always be a level of subjectivity. It's not possible to make it like 100% objective when it comes to performance appraisal and feedback and so on, right? This is not specific number of emails that you do or something. However, what people in culture are doing, what we are trying also to add additionally into WOW team is additional mechanisms, processes, and so on to bring as close to that objectivity as possible. But we will never be at 100% objectivity, right? But every single one of you has a role to play in bringing closer to that objectivity. And one of the things is giving feedback, not just to your team manager, but to your other team members. Another thing is questioning things, challenging manager as well, and many of you do that, and I really appreciate it. And so on. So this is how we are moving closer there, but we'll never reach a particular level when you can tell that, oh, we are now totally objective.
Or we are totally perfect.
Yeah.
Well, get close to it.
Sorry?
Get close to perfect.
Yeah.
Try for it anyway. Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Thank
Thank you,
Thank you.
Kim.